Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
And welcome back, everybody. Every time we get together with him, he offers so much insight for parents and also those looking to embark on a career in psychology. This is Good Advice Helps with Dr. Allan Gold. He has spent many years as the district psychologist at the Reed Union School District in California. And we have lots to talk about. He's back with us. Hey, Allan, how you doing?
Fine, thank you. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. It's good to have you back with us. And you inspire, because we've gotten quite a few emails and people reaching out from the last time we got together. I'm thinking that maybe we should start there. Does that sound all right?
Sure.
So instant feedback, steve@gmail.com if you have a question. This is from Sophie in Boston. She says, if a parent disagrees with a school evaluation, diagnosis, or recommendation, what's the best way to raise these concerns? How can parents advocate effectively for their child while still maintaining a relationship with the school team? Kind of a deep question to get going here, but it's a real one.
That's a deep, it's not like it hadn't happened in my career. Rarely, fortunately. Obviously, the goal is to work with parents to come up with solutions and interventions that they agree with and that will benefit the student. But it's rare, but not completely unusual, that there is a disagreement. Hopefully, the school team and the parents can work together to see what the parents disagree with. Perhaps they don't like the or are uncomfortable with the diagnosis of the child and don't believe it. For example, I used to see that, parents would be able to accept attention deficit disorder, emotional disturbance, even autism, although sometimes that is very difficult to accept. But often it would be if a child had a very low IQ and they were cognitively disabled, that would be, particularly in a high socioeconomic district where there are lots of smart people, they might really not believe that. Usually, parents who have children with learning disabilities, they can accept that. But hopefully the school and the parents can see, maybe they don't like a particular intervention. Maybe if the school is recommending medication for ADHD, the parents don't want that. That's not mandatory. The school can't administer that anyway. That has to be done through a medical doctor. But there have been cases where it becomes the parents have a lawyer who is a representative, and then the district also always has, well, I can't say for every district, but, has a lawyer consultant. And sometimes the case can actually go to court and be adjudicated there. It's very unpleasant, because I think most school personnel and staff really are there for the child, but there are some parents who can be very resistant. They don't want the services. In terms of evaluations, parents also have the right to have an outside evaluation, which the school district has to pay for. I think it's called an IE, independent exam. So there may be, with a private educational psychologist, they might come up with a different diagnosis, and so that information can be integrated. And
can I ask you at that point, because you bring back some memories of friends that I spoke with who had similar challenges, and they were wrestling with whether they should pay for the evaluation outside of the school. How much weight does that carry if it's done by a qualified mental health professional?
Yeah, no, it can carry weight. I mean, sometimes parents would actually have an outside evaluation and then present it to us at school.
Hmm.
But school always has the right to do further evaluations. So sometimes we consider, well, that was a good evaluation, but they didn't look at this area, and we would offer to do that. Um, but if it's a reliable, yeah, there certainly have been very reliable educational psychologists that are clinical psychologists that have assessed kids, and we've really accepted that information. So
Mm,
it really depends on who it is and the completeness of the information. But one thing that they don't have the opportunity to do is observe the child in school.
true.
And like for example, kids with ADHD, I experienced situations where a kid would walk into the doctor's office, and with 10 minutes they'd say, "Oh yeah, this kid has ADHD," but there's no uh, observation of the kid. There's no filling out observation forms and things like that. So we would definitely advocate for um, completing that sort of assessment. But if this person is really has worked with the school and is very dissatisfied with the results, and or the proposed interventions, whether it's special education or something else, they have a right to have an attorney to
Mm.
challenge the school district. Nobody wants that. I think I've only in my 48 years had to do that one or two times actually. But so much, what's important really is for the school to develop a very cordial and trusting relationship with the parents so that things can be worked out and they don't go to that extreme. I don't know if that answers that for
Oh, for
her.
sure. And how do you respond to let's say a parent who might say, "Oh, they're come on, they're not approving this for my child, even though my child needs the help, and the test came back or the evaluation came back a certain way. It's all about money. The district doesn't want to put the resources for another child. It's all about money." How would you respond to that?
Well, again, they have a right to the services if the child is eligible for the services. Now, that gets complicated with children with mild learning disabilities because there's um, uh, what's called a big difference between one's ability and one's academic performance. It's the discrepancy model. So, but if it's supposed to be at least um, 15 points difference. So if you have an IQ of 90 and your academic performance is 88, that's not a big enough discrepancy, so you wouldn't qualify for or even if your ability is 110 and you're at the 100 level, but the parents are not satisfied that the child is working up to his or her capacity. Um, so there are legal regulations under the special education laws that have to
Mm,
be followed there. But one thing that I loved about my school district is that there was general education academic support for kids who may be struggling but not at the learning disability level. So they did get support, usually small group support in math and in reading. Um, so at least up through fifth grade, so that would get some support, some academic support that they needed. It's the kids that have the more extreme learning disabilities that get special education support.
Hmm. Pivot over to one from Dan from Austin, instant feedback, Steve at gmail.com. He says, I'm forever policing my kids' devices. With the rise of social media and constant screen time, have you noticed changes in the types of social, emotional, and attention related issues that students bring to school? And how is that being dealt with?
Yes, the absolute.
And I got to believe, in the time frame that you've been doing what you've done, you were there before these devices. So
Oh,
yeah.
yes, right. I have certainly seen that, and I consider it one of the most, if not the most challenging parental um, teaching and monitoring that exists now. Before social media, kids, I think there was much less ADHD. I think there are now, is now research that associates poor attention with electronic devices. So there's the attention issue, and there's the social media issue effect on kids' emotional state, their anxiety, their depression. And then there's addiction, which is really significant. I admire this father for doing the monitor that he's doing. And that's what I feel so sorry for parents who have to do this. Um, I used to say to parents, set limits. It's perfectly okay to say you may not use electronic devices except to do homework. See, now they're in schools all the time, so kids, they have them.
Yep.
But to not use them only for homework, have the kid do the homework in a place where the parents can monitor that. And then on a weekday, a school night, no, you can't use that. Then they might want to say on the weekend, yes, you can play video games for an hour or something like that. And I always used to try to educate parents about being on the outlook for addiction. Because if you set time, even if you're on a school night, yes, you can have a half an hour to play. That's fine. Um, but when I tell you to get off, you need to get off. So with some kids, they have enough self-control. So you say, okay, 5 minutes till you're over, and then at the time limit, the kids, can I just finish this um, one
Level,
activity?
level, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Level or whatever it is. I'll be off in 2 minutes. And if they can do that within, even 5 minutes, I'd say, okay, they have some self-control. But if it turns into, oh, come on, I just need another 10 minutes, can I have, and the 10 minutes goes into a half an hour and a fight, then I'd say this is addiction. And one needs to put not a limit on it, but just no, you cannot use that. And I've worked with kids who've been addicted. I've talked to psychiatrists who've worked with even high school students who were on the computer all day. I mean, they
Mm,
wouldn't even eat dinner or something. And of course, it's important to make sure that they don't have their electronic devices in their bedrooms, um, because the light from those electronic devices interferes with sleep.
mm.
Um, but it's a tremendous amount of monitoring that parents have to do, and then the whole social media thing. Often girls, but
Yeah.
they want to be liked, and they feel terrible if they aren't liked. They compare themselves to uh, other kids who present themselves maybe with gorgeous pictures of themselves. Um, and then there's always the postings that are mean and nasty and bullying, which never happened before all of this. If somebody didn't like somebody, they'd say something directly to them, or maybe they'd pass them a note, and that would be it. But now it's much, much harder to regulate. And I spent so much time working with kids, um, trying to deconstruct the communication or help them communicate face to face, so that they wouldn't do that. But it's there is no easy answer to this, but I think the earlier parents monitor and set limits on their kids' use of electronic devices, the better it is. Once a kid's in high school or college, you don't have any control over that anymore, and you don't have any control over adults either.
So
But
at that point, got to ask you, what do you think about schools taking away or not allowing devices during class?
Oh, absolutely. I
Okay.
mean,
Hmm.
we definitely had classes where there was a container for cell phones that kids would just put their phone in that little pocket
Sure.
and then get it on the way out. Yeah. But sometimes, I mean, a lot of the classes, particularly the middle school classes, did have all the kids were given computers by school. So, a teacher can't quite monitor if they're supposed to be on the computer and maybe they're playing video games or texting somebody or something like that.
Mhm.
It's a challenge for teachers too. So they need to walk around and make sure that, but kids are very clever. They can hide what they're doing. They can have two screens on the or two windows on the machine,
Oh,
and
sure. Yeah.
hide one. No, it's really, with all the advantages that electronics do provide people at different times, it's really a very big challenge for parents. And I wish I had an easy answer for this parent who is really trying hard, other than, keep doing this. If your child will not get off, then set limits, like you may not use that. I mean, parents will take the computer away and the cell phone away and lock it in a closet or something like that. Um,
And
you know,
sadly, as a parent, and it's been a few years since I investigated this because I have teens, when they were younger, all the filters, all the stuff to regulate, set time limits, and all of that, things you install in their phones. I'm pretty geeky, and I have a friend who's high level at IBM. We went through all of this. Those products, unless things have changed in the last couple of years, they don't really work. Kids can
yeah,
get around them, and even asking my friend that works at IBM, and he's got teens too. I'm like, well, what do you do? Well, how do you deal with it? He looks at me. He says, and this is a tech guy. He
yeah,
writes all these programs for IBM. He says, talk to your kids. He goes, nothing else is going to work. He goes, I've
yeah,
done the same exact thing too.
yeah, yeah. And you want kids to be able to be so. What we're learning now is that kids are so much more isolated. They really don't know how to communicate with each other very well. And you want kids to play with each other in person. You want them to do sports. You want them to do other activities that,
Hmm.
whether theater or dance or music or whatever it is. Um, and if they're just on the electronics all day, it's horrible.
Totally. Yeah, it's taking that time away of social growth, exercise, and all that. Um,
Right.
let's look at one from Brian Columbus. These are great questions, by the way, everybody. Thank you. They're
Yeah,
very
they're very challenging and very good questions. Yeah.
insightful. He's asking, from your experience, what are some of the biggest misconceptions parents or teachers have about the role of a school psychologist? And he's also asking, how does that misunderstanding affect the way students are supported?
Hmm. Um, that's an interesting question. I'm thinking, um, I'm not sure what the answer to that is. I think maybe the biggest misconception is that school psychologists have the answers to everything
Mm,
and know everything. And so in a sense, it's a sort of an overly positive view of school psychologists. Um, I mean, I always kind of felt that way, like, oh, you know everything, that kind of thing, which isn't
Right.
true. We're always learning. Um, I guess that's not a horrible misconception. Um, but occasionally, there will be a parent who disagrees with a school psychologist's opinion. But I don't think that's any different than, any other educator. They could disagree with teachers, they could disagree with principals. Um, so in terms of misconception, my sense is that most parents feel like, we have the answers to everything. And if if we don't, then maybe we're not well enough educated or not, smart enough or
But the other thing is too, you're a school psychologist. So you have a psychologist and a school psychologist. You don't have all the answers. You don't know what's going on at home unless you're directly connecting with the parents and there's
right,
deep conversations going on. And now we look at the psychologist. Let's say a parent takes their child for support that way. That person doesn't know the school situation.
right, right.
Typically they're not calling you up or a teacher saying, "Hi, you know what? I just had a conversation with. Can you tell me what's going on there in school?" Usually
That's
not.
why that's why I used to have very close relationships with private psychologists
Hmm.
because they needed information from me, I needed information from them, and I've talked about this before. The teamwork is so crucial,
Yeah.
to get information. I mean, I've said to parents and or even spouses to tell private therapists information that you have. I was just talking to a dear friend of mine who has a uh, nephew and niece-in-law and grand niece that's a messy family, and the niece-in-law is in therapy, and I said, "Do you know?" And my friend has a lot of information about her and her issues, and but whether the therapist knows that, because it's not unusual that the
Mm,
client doesn't tell everything,
sure.
and and for a child, it's very good to have the parental view of what's going on. Like a teenager or something like that who's in therapy. It's good to have the parental perspective. And a parent can call or a person can call and say, "I know you have confidentiality. You don't have to say a word, but I just wanted you to know that these are issues that your patient may or may not have addressed, and I'm very concerned about it."
We're out of time, and I have more.
Okay, well,
I'm looking at.
I can take another. We didn't start till 9:30. Well, my 9:36 or 7. So we have a 5 more minutes if you want.
Uh, we have an out time of 25 minutes, so I have a minute and a half. Let's go here. This is from Janine, who checks in from Regal, Chicago. I'm considering a career in school psychology, and she's asking what education and training did you go through, and are there any skills, technical or personal, that you think really make somebody successful in this field?
Okay. I didn't actually go through because I made a decision in my 20s to change my field from mathematics and statistics to psychology. That's another whole story. But I had experience, you know, uh, I'd always liked kids, and I always liked teaching kids, helping kids. But I think the personal characteristics that one has are the most important. You can always learn the facts and the information. You can learn about child
Mm,
development and education and legal requirements and so on. But I think to be flexible, to be social, to be comfortable with a lot of different people, to be good listeners, to be empathic and caring. I think to be successful at the job is much more about one's personal characteristics. I mean, it's certainly important to have good logic and good reasoning skills. That's where my mathematics background helped.
ah.
because you're solving puzzles all the time, putting facts together to try to make sense out of the assessments that you do on children or the observations that you make. So a good combination of strong social emotional development on your part, and good logical thinking. You do need to understand math, because all testing is the results are numerical, so that helps. But also just being a caring person who is devoted to helping others. And also another important characteristic is to know how to take care of yourself. Particularly when you're starting this career, you can be very hard on yourself. You can think, oh, I don't know how to do this. I'm never going to learn. To have a strong enough self-esteem so that you can accept your mistakes, learn from your mistakes, not put yourself down, and continue learning throughout your career.
Which I guess that's part of it. Every day's a new day. Every student that comes through those doors, it's another opportunity for you to help and also learn at the same time. And to your point, you can't teach things like empathy. That's got to come from within.
That's come from the heart. Yeah.
Yeah. Allan, thank you so much for today. I want to tell everybody, instant feedback, steve@gmail.com. Got questions, either career related or if you're a parent having some challenges with your child, school connected or otherwise, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you for being here today again.
Sure. My pleasure.
I appreciate it. We'll be right back.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.